Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for joining us for this session, which is something a lot of us have been very excited about. Everybody in Iowa has heard about the Renaissance we've had here in Dubuque. Some places are even trying to copy it, I know. But it's really been a terrific story, and I don't think there's any place, not only in Iowa, but any place in the world that has a better public-private partnership than exists here in Dubuque. It's a terrific thing. The results have been absolutely incredible, and it's my pleasure to introduce our panel to you. The first panelist is Mayor Roy Buell. You've heard from the mayor this morning what a fantastic welcome he gave us, Mayor. Thank you very much. I won't give you the mayor's biography again because you heard it this morning, but it's clear he's been a business and government leader here in Dubuque for a long, long time. Next to him is Mike Van Milligan, and if you talk to people anywhere in the state and you ask them where's the best city manager, they'll say in Dubuque, Iowa. Mike has a long time reputation for leadership, not only in city management, but also in bringing people together and mainly in results, getting things done. And next to Mike is Rick Dickinson. Thank you, Rick. Oh my God. I don't Rick I've actually known Rick the longest.
What's his name?
Yeah. I've actually known Rick the longest. I don't know what that means. But anyway, Rick, too, when you talk about results and what development organizations across the state do, everybody talks about Greater Dubuque Development Corporation. And Rick, in addition to all that, is a past legislator. He was a pro-business Democrat during all his time in the House of Representatives. He's been a real leader, not only for this part of the state, but for all of Iowa. So we are really excited to have all three of you here. Thank you so very much. Here's our panel.
Well, good afternoon. As mayor of Dubuque, I have the privilege of representing my city council colleagues, city staff, and partner organizations, and our extraordinary citizens. It's my honor to participate in this panel to discuss the Dubuque success story, one which we are still continuing to write. First and foremost, we want you to know that by no means does Dubuque leadership believe we have all the answers to the myriad of issues the city faces. We do, however, believe that many communities may benefit from learning about Dubuque's transformation. From a community in the mid-1980s with a brownfield riverfront, a blighted downtown area, and high unemployment, to being named in 2010 as the best small city to raise a family, and the #1 mid-sized city in the nation with projected job growth by Forbes. On behalf of my fellow panelists, I would like to thank the Iowa Association of Business and Industry for choosing Dubuque to host this year's annual conference. I hope you are all enjoying your stay and that you'll plan to visit us again. We're going to begin with some community background from City Manager Mike Van Milligan. I believe that following his presentation, you will not only have a much better understanding of Dubuque, but also an appreciation for the impact of several significant visioning efforts that occurred over the years in the city of Dubuque. I'll turn the podium over to Mike.
Welcome to Dubuque. Thank you for being here this afternoon. Last year we were fortunate to have 3 cabinet secretaries come to Dubuque, Ray LaHood from the Department of Transportation, and Sean Donovan from HUD, and Jackson from the EPA. We spent the morning in Chicago, the afternoon in Dubuque, and the evening in Denver. And Secretary LaHood put me on the spot when we were giving him a bus tour. He said, okay, we want to know in 5 seconds, what's the secret to Dubuque's success? And I said, well, I have to tell you, it's easy. It's about planning, partnerships, and people. And the people part is about leadership and execution. And if you heard Mayor Roy Buell speak this morning, we welcome you. You just heard him speak now. Let me tell you, he's the leadership, and we're just proud to be following. And I think we're going to accomplish a lot of great things in Dubuque. I want to tell you a little bit about the Dubuque story. If you remember the 1980s, which was, I guess you'd say, the last Great Recession since the Great Depression, at least for Iowa it was. Dubuque averaged almost 9% unemployment for the entire decade of the 80s. We had, in January 1982, we had 23% unemployment. Well, something happened then, and that was the formation of the Greater Dubuque Development Corporation. You're going to get to hear from Rick Dickinson, but it's a partnership of business, government, and labor that exists to this day that has helped us progress beyond that. When I started in January of 1993, the first thing I did was I went to the bookshelf in the city manager's office to look at the city's comprehensive plan. Well, it was dated 1936, so there was no no surprise to me that they were sort of wandering in the woods during the 1980s. Since then, I'm proud to say, it had nothing to do with me, it was already in the process when I showed up. The Mayor and City Council in 1995 adopted a new comprehensive plan. Now, every year, they meet and have a 2-day, the Mayor and City Council have a 2-day strategic planning session with a professional facilitator. You'll hear a little bit more about what happened in 2005 when the Envision 2010 plan was adopted. These are the City Council's 5-year goals that they established last September when they did their 2-day strategic planning session. A diverse, strong Dubuque economy, sustainable city, planned and managed growth, partnering for a better Dubuque, and improved connectivity. And my presentation is going to be broken down into those categories. A diverse, strong economy. If you look at 1983, we had 37,600 people working in Dubuque County. Today we have 56,200 people working in Dubuque County. Forbes magazine picked us first in the nation among mid-sized cities for projected job growth. So that's projected job growth. That's just not what's happened historically over the last few years, which has been pretty good. And Forbes picked us for 15th in the country for best small places for business and careers. Moody's Economy.com picked us number 7 in the U.S. for job growth. Now this is among all metropolitan areas, not just mid-sized cities, that we're ranked 7th for projected job growth in 2013. And if you take a 1-year snapshot from 2005 to 2006, Moody's Economy.com looked at the rate of job growth in all the metropolitan areas across the country. We had the 22nd highest rate of job growth. We were sandwiched between Austin, Texas, and Orlando, Florida. Expansion Management Magazine said we had the 7th highest quality of life in the country, the 11th place for peace of mind or public safety, and number 1 for housing affordability. And the way they define that is if you make the median income based on home prices, you have the greatest chance to own your own home than anywhere else in the country. And there was a 5-year study done by the Milken Institute from 1998 to 2003. And you'll see that some later statistics about the year 2000 was where we started to turn the corner. And we ranked first in the country for mid-sized cities for high-tech output growth. That's basically the 5-year period when our economy went through a huge transition. And Inc. magazine picked us as one of the top 25 boom towns in the country. And you may find out, hear more, I probably won't hear more about this from Rick later, but this is very important. Greater Dubuque Development Corporation has a program called Info Action, and it's a business retention program where they interview over 200 CEOs in the Dubuque market every single year. They put the responses into a computer database, and then they act upon the issues that were raised in those interviews. And they received 4 awards from 4 different organizations last year for having the best business retention program in the country. Site Selection Magazine picked us as one of the top 10 metropolitan areas. And CNNmoney.com picked us as one of the top 50 places to launch a small business. And here's just a list of some of the employers that call Dubuque home. Obviously, you'll see AY McDonald, IBM, John Deere, Hormel, McGraw-Hill, Medline, Nordstrom's, McKesson's. And then sustainable city, one of the other 5 priorities of the council. I'm not going to talk about that because the mayor's going to talk next and he's going to talk about it. Planned and managed growth. If you look at since 1995 when the city council adopted a comprehensive plan, we've had over 5,000 acres of land annexed into the city. None of that was by referendum. That's all voluntary annexation. See, we geographically increased the size of our city by 34% since 1995. Those are people that saw once we had a plan, they wanted to be part of it. Non-residential construction. Since 1999, we've averaged 830,000 square feet of non-residential construction a year. And we've had, so that's been about 10 million square feet of non-residential construction in that 12-year period. When the comprehensive plan was adopted, it was identified we didn't have enough parks. Even though I hope you've seen we have some awesome parks here, we didn't have enough of them. So the mayor and council have added 20 new parks to the system since '95, and in the next 5-year capital improvement program, there'll be 7 additional parks added. Historic Millwork District. It's the original manufacturing district of our community. It's our community is 176 years old. This is the original manufacturing district. Now it's either abandoned or it's warehouses. There's no manufacturing to speak of that goes on there. There's going to be it's 1 million square feet, and there's going to be a $200 million renovation of that property. The first project is already broken ground, which is the city is rebuilding all the streets and all the underground infrastructure for about $6 million. And the first actual building project breaks down in 60 days. And we're also, we have a situation where there are 1,150 homes in our north end, the poorest part of our community, that flooded quite frequently every few years. The mayor and city council have adopted a $60 billion drainage basin master plan, which includes 100 years ago there used to be a creek that ran to the north end of town, and it was buried into an underground culvert. The capacity of that culvert has been exceeded years ago. So we're going to actually daylight the creek. We're digging out the culvert, and we're going to put the creek back in for a mile stretch to the north end of our community for a price tag of $50 million. It's going to have hike and bike trails, lighting, landscaping. We're going to plant over 1,000 trees, and that project is already under construction. And this just shows you what's happened in our downtown since the Dubuque Main Street organization was formed in 1985. But you'll see most of that growth has been since the year 2000. So you see that right column, it shows the percentage of those activities that have just happened since the year 2000. Improved connectivity. We've connected every public facility in the city with fiber optic cabling. So all the schools, all the hospitals, all the city buildings, all the county buildings are all connected with fiber optic cabling. We've gotten some great connections. You might say it was such a great city, then why hasn't it grown more than it did? And if you look until the 1970 census, Dubuque was growing, and then it stopped growing. My theory is because President Eisenhower had a great idea in the 1950s, the interstate highway system, but he left Dubuque off. But in November of 1999, we got our first 4-lane connection to the outside world. That's when they 4-lane Highway 61 from Dubuque down to Interstate 80 in Davenport. Since then, 151 has been 4-lane to Madison, which is Interstate 90-94. It's been 4-lane to Cedar Rapids, which is 380. And it's been 4-lane to Interstate 35, just north of Ames on Highway 20. And of course, also they built the Avenue of the Saints from St. Paul to St. Louis, which connects to Highway 20 near Dubuque at Waterloo. And so we now have 5 4-lane connections to the outside world. The significance of that for us is within 100 miles there are 3 million people. And within a day's drive, 500 miles, there are 70 million people. We're getting a new airport terminal for $30 million. That'll be under construction in the next few years. Partnering for a better Dubuque. I mentioned to you in an earlier slide the Envision 2010 program. The Community Foundation of Greater Dubuque and the Dubuque Area Chamber of Commerce partnered in 2005 in a year-long process. They involved thousands of citizens in this. And the only question was, what 10 projects do you want to see completed by the year 2010? And this was the final list after that year-long process, and it was a very scientifically-based process. They did telephone surveys and all kinds of things to establish this list of 10. And while some of them I would say are fairly significant, they are all underway, including by 2013, we'll have passenger rail service to Chicago because the state of Illinois has budgeted $60 million to rebuild the tracks. Now, obviously, we still need to support Governor Branstad, and we hope that that happens. We have the America's River Project. The Port of Dubuque is a 90-acre campus. We're in the heart of that campus right now. Prior to 2003, this was a blighted brownfield area. The city acquired the properties and partnered with private developers and others to redevelop it. Now we've had $400 million in investment since 2003 in the Port of Dubuque. And it includes the National Mississippi River Museum and Aquarium. It's affiliated with Smithsonian, and it's a $100 million museum. We are connecting all these amenities that we have with a pretty intricate bike trail system, which goes all the way to Dyersville, which of course is where the movie Field of Dreams was filmed. We were recognized by America's Promise Alliance as one of the 100 best places for young people, 3 out of the last 4 years. We have 18,000 college students in the tri-state area, but one of the significant things, and you'll get to hear a little bit more about the IBM project from Rick, But one of the things they looked at is within 100 miles of Dubuque, there are 304,000 college students. And this was an